Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Well, a few weeks back, it was kind of a nice day, warm, relatively warm for winter, and I drove over to Brookfield Zoo, which is not even 20 minutes from here. And when I got there, primarily I wanted to maybe do some outside shots, but there wasn't really much going on outside. So I went into a few of the buildings, one of which was the cloud leopard rainforest. It's pretty dark inside this building, and all I had was the Lumix 14-140 Superzoom lens. I essentially just went with my G9II and this lens and really nothing else. So kind of dark, right? But I was able to get some pretty decent shots, and so I thought I might talk about that. When you do this, of course, you do end up having to use a slow shutter speed, but the stabilization on this lens combined with the stabilization on the G9II means that you can shoot down to really slow shutter speed. So down to, no problem using 1/20th of a second. Now, what that means is if you're photographing an animal, it has to be holding still. So essentially what I did was I just found animals that were holding still or caught them as they stopped moving. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about this. And so here are the images, and I'll be back with a follow-up. Now we're inside the clouded leopard rainforest, and here is a clouded leopard. So seeing that little subtitle, it was shot at 1/20th of a second at ISO 6400. So noise is not bad. I haven't done anything more than what the noise reduction that is put on raw files when they come into Lightroom. These enclosures are open. There's steel mesh over the front of them that keeps the animal inside. There's this enclosure, but I decided to also switch it over to Leica monochrome. The original was in the standard Lumix profile, so here is Leica monochrome. That looks pretty good as well. This is a ring-tailed lemur, again shot at 1/20th of a second. Of course, you have to wait until the animal is not moving, or you're going to get motion blur. One thing that you be careful of is when you bring these types of images into Lightroom, if you hit the auto toning button, so you adjust exposure and shadows and whatnot, it's going to raise the shadows too much, and you're going to get this. So if you do that, just slide the shadow slider back down to where you're darken the background there, and don't see any of that noise. Here is a meerkat. Again, shot him when he was standing still. Also, I should mention that these were all shot in shutter priority with the shutter speed fixed at 1/20th of a second. And here is a Pallas cat. Interesting small cat. It has round pupils rather than slits. But again, he's holding still here, and he moved a bit, and I got a different shot. I think I must have moved a little bit to a different angle. But again, these are ISO 6400, and really not bad. As you can see, you can get away with shooting ISO 6400 on the G9 Mark II, and those images were shot in RAW. But when you bring them into Lightroom, Lightroom applies some noise reduction, so it's really not too bad. And if you go ahead and put those images through a noise reduction, AI noise reduction software like Topaz Photo AI, you get some pretty decent photos. Now, one thing that I want to mention is that, zoos are a really good place to practice. You're not going to get the kinds of photos that if you're shooting stock photography, very rarely are you going to have a stock photograph of an animal in a zoo sell as stock. And it's probably much more likely that if you photograph people with the animals, that might be something that sells. But you got to be careful, and you got to realize some zoos, as well as museums, have in their terms and conditions of entrance that you can only take photos for personal use. So you do want to be aware of that. Because there are instances, as has happened with Alamy, where Alamy has put out a notification saying,
you know, you have a shot of something in this museum or zoo, and we're going to be taking all of those down because the institution contacted us, and if we don't take them down, we're going to get sued, right? So you really want to be aware of that. Some zoos are on publicly funded property, but it may not matter because a lot of times they'll still have that in their terms and conditions. If you want to make an issue of it, you might have a leg to stand on if it's being supported by tax money. So anyway, I hope this was useful to you. If it was, please hit that thumbs up, like button. It's a help with the algorithm for me. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm Todd Banner. I will see you next time.